So HDZero just released the renders for their new upcoming goggles, and boy, this thing looks amazing. Here's the front of the goggles. It looks pretty cool, guys, with the white and red and black theme. Looks pretty nice, really nice goggles, almost like some of the Fat Shark and Sky Zone goggles. Here's another picture of it from the bottom, and you can see some of the adjustment down there, as well as the antennas and some ports here, whether it be, you know, headphones or HDMI in or out, also an SD card reader in there. So really nice looking goggles. Obviously these are still renders, and here's another picture of it on the side profile here without the analog module attached. So let's talk about what we know so far. Ryan just got off the conference call literally just now, and they did a pretty good job explaining all the features so far in the goggles, as well as answering questions from the community. So that's really amazing. That's crazy, never heard of that. So they are involved in the community, and that's a really good sign. Now, there was a lot announced tonight and a lot packed into these goggles. Let's talk about the first one. The first one is the ability to have Wi-Fi sharing or Wi-Fi streaming. That's a huge deal. In my opinion, that's the biggest news so far. Now, that gives you the ability to transfer and update files, just like updating your firmware on your VRX or in your receiver. It's a pretty cool function, guys. Now, the biggest thing as well is that you can share video, you can stream video. So if you want to stream videos to, say, a monitor, say you're racing, there was the potential that you can use this streaming to stream to online internet and share with maybe a technical advisor or someone in a remote location. Now, the second standard feature in this goggle is the ability to have both inputs and outputs. Now, we know about inputs just like this DJI goggles right here. You can have the input here and you can attach an analog goggle to that. So that's pretty useful. What this doesn't have is an output. Now, we know that these new goggles will have an HDMI output, which is great for recording or sending the feed to the computer or to a monitor. So that's a really good thing, and we've been asking for that for a long time. Now, talking about inputs, the DVR in this goggles has the ability to record all inputs, whether it be from an analog module or the input in the goggles, or just from your HDZero feed, which most goggles can do, obviously. So that is pretty cool. If you can put an input into the goggles, the DVR can record it. So next to the SD card port, you can see a headphone jack right here. That's cool. You can listen to the audio from the drone, which is pretty amazing. That can also be used to plug in an external microphone, and that's really good because we know that the VRX does have a built-in microphone, but with this headphone jack, you can plug in an external microphone, say a lapel mic, and you can record the audio at the field. They thought about all the things that we want, so pretty cool. Now, the next feature that was announced was the ability to have an expansion bay for an Express LRS receiver. Now, that's pretty cool because some of the receivers in the market can have or accept a Express LRS receiver for a backpack function. So the fact that this is a HDZero goggles, it will have it built into it or have the expansion bay to add that to it. Now, that leads to the next news that was announced, that this thing could potentially have a free UART. Now, that's amazing because we know in FPV with a free UART, you can do a lot of things. And that's pretty cool because if you can attach any FPV accessory with a UART, then you can do a lot. You can data log, there's the ability to have head tracking. This is an amazing goggles, guys. With that one feature, you can probably add any FPV accessories and have it configurable in probably beta flight. Now, on the bottom here, you see that we have the adjustment here for the IPD adjusters, as well as the focusing knobs here. So that's really cool. You can obviously extend those left and right or close and near. So that's amazing. I'm mostly impressed with the bottom of this goggles here because there's a lot of features that's shown here. Now, while we're here on this diagram, another thing that stands out really and is greatly appreciated is this little thing right here, and that's your power switch. Now, there are tons and tons of goggles on the market and none of them has a power switch. I don't know why. So if you've been asking for this for a long time, why not just give it to us? And these guys have figured it out, put a switch on here. So that's really convenient. You have your standard barrel plug right here for your DC input. I don't think they discussed the voltage range, but I'm guessing between 2 and 6S. While we're down here as well, let's see if we can see another picture. But you have this button right here to adjust your fan. The fan is fully adjustable, and it can also be set automatically where beyond a certain temperature, it might come on automatically. Now, it's hard to see here, but if you look very closely, you have these little slits right here. You can see it on this one here as well. On the bottom, you have these slits, and those are the rails for the antennas. So obviously we have 4 antennas here, just like any other, HDZero product. There's 4 antennas on here. And the idea is that you can add your patch antennas to these rails right here. So that's a pretty cool feature that we saw on the VRX, the new VRX that's being released right now. And it also continues here in the goggles. Really nice and creative design. Now guys, this thing looks like a pretty complete goggles, almost like they've thought it through. As I said, they've thrown a lot of things in here, a lot of hardware in here so that this thing will be future-proof. If you have the ability to want to do head tracking, well, there you go. You want to use Wi-Fi for updates, for interfacing with Betaflight, for updates online, for firmware updates, or just to stream, the Wi-Fi can be configured to do that. From what I understand, they put a lot into this goggles so that the community, since it's going to be open source, can now alter the software or the firmware and add code to make these things work to your benefit. That's the best thing. If you are missing some kind of hardware in here, but you want a feature, well, that can't help you because the hardware is not set up for that. But because there's so much in here, this can be configured for whatever you want. So I'm really excited about this. It's really cool that it has support for analog. That really jives with me. I'm an old school kind of guy. And I'm sure a lot of people agree with that, especially if you're gonna be flying small tiny whoops that come from the factory with just analog. Granted, HDZero is gonna probably be making some 1S boards in the future. It is still pretty cool to have an analog receiver in your goggles. Now, one thing we don't know is the pricing of this. We don't know what the price range is gonna be, but for what they're throwing at you here, guys, it probably won't be really cheap. Now, I have to say, guys, this was literally just released minutes ago on the conference call, and I want to give a big shout out to Ryan and the HDZero crew because they did a good job presenting this to the community. Not only did they release images of their goggles, they also had a conference where you, me, all of us could be in a conference and ask questions, and they're very open about the technology and what they're doing and what they hope to do in the future. Anyways, let me know what you think about these goggles. Are you impressed by these? Are these gonna make you wanna now go to HDZero? I know a lot of guys in the community are kind of on the fence. Does this kind of push you a little bit closer to the HDZero system? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you still wanna know more about HDZero, I've done a video on how it works. I'll leave it linked above right here. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.